Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Unstuck podcast. I am your host, Demi Harper, and I am joined by the bro. Say hello.
Hello, I am the bro.
Yeah, it's been a while, actually. It's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't done this for a little while because you've rebranded and stuff.
Yeah, rebranded. I think I've rebranded twice since you've been on this.
Stop rebranding.
I like to brand. I like
Fair
to
enough.
rebrand. But yeah, welcome to the Unstuck podcast. Use hashtag Unstuck podcast for anything that we might talk about today, and click on the link in my description to download the free stuff that I talk about.
It's easier now because we live together.
Yeah, we actually live together now.
Before I had to like travel to do this stuff, and it'd be like, I'm running late. I'm not coming. It's like you're in the other room. You can't lie no more.
Yeah. So for you guys who are new to the podcast, basically my brother Sean here, he's been on a lot of the earlier episodes. So if you go into like the first kind of like series or something like that, Sean is actually in a lot of the episodes.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about design back then.
Yeah, a lot about design and like concepts and like things. Well, we did this fun thing before where it was like, oh, let's take two random words. Was it two or three?
Yeah, two random words.
Two random words and make a business idea out of it, and like and planning and stuff. I mean, we were very off the cuff and based on the knowledge that we both know. And may work or may not actually work. But one of them actually end up being the thing. The Hagen Days.
Did it?
Well, someone told me that basically that does exist.
Really?
Yeah, not Hagen Days, but like the concept already exists.
Oh,
apparently. But yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
There you go.
Okay, well, so if you go back to the old episodes, when it was called the OJ Harper podcast, Jesus is Lord, what a name. We talk about a lot of stuff like that. For those who are new to the podcast, can you just like describe yourself?
Oh, okay. So I am a software developer by vocation. And in my spare time, I used to write a dating blog. But I pivoted from writing a dating blog to actually just making date-related comics on a thing called Diary of a Wannabe. I will still write on the blog. I've learned quite a few things from writing on that blog for like, I don't know, it was like 3 years I wrote on that thing.
Oh, wow.
And I sort of pivoted to see, because I prefer the drawing that I do to the writing. And it was easier to pull out content for the art than it was for the articles, because you run out of exciting things to write about based on what I chose to write about, which is dating. I mean, there's only so many things. After a while, you run into a brick wall, like, what else can I write about now? So I put a pause on that. But I do that. And yeah, pretty much.
What made you start the
blog?
The dating blog? Yeah.
Oh, so I had this friend, holla out,
yeah.
Sophie. She won't see this, so she won't care.
She might.
Or she might randomly just be like, why are you saying my name on the internet? And I worked with her in an e-commerce company, and I started going on dates then. And it was the first time I started going on dates. Well, like really early doors dating. And people used to always ask me how dates went. So I have tons of friends that are either in relationships or are married or just never really dated and don't want to. They do that thing where they sort of just assume someone's going to pop up at the right time. Much more patient than me. I ain't got time for that. And they always ask me like how things went, and they wanted their experiences and stuff. So like I was also, shout out to Fran, actually, because it started off with Fran. And I was talking to her about it. I was like, I should just write a blog because people keep asking me all the time. I keep having to repeat myself. And she was like, maybe you should write a blog. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I will. Because I knew how to make websites. I know how to make websites. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I can do it, right? But because I got tired of being with people that says like, oh, I should do this. And never actually doing anything. So I was like, I'm going to just do it. I'm making websites piss easy. So
for you,
well, fine for me. Making a website isn't that hard. Making a good website though, that's tricky. But anyway, so I made that, and then for Sophie Challis, basically I was talking to her about it and to her about stuff, and she was like, "Oh, you should make like a thing called the Diary of a Fuckboy." That was a joke that she made, and I was like, "I like that name, but I'm not a fuckboy. Am I a wannabe fuckboy? Maybe I am a wannabe fuckboy." Diary of a Wannabe Fuckboy. Boom. So that's the full name of the blog, actually. It's Diary of a Wannabe Fuckboy. But I decided to get that Wannabe.com so I can pivot to different things. Because I didn't want to just do dating. I could do like, do I ever want to be chef? Do I ever want to be like, so, but at the moment it's still on dating 4 years later or 3 years later. So that's kind of how it ended up being a thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's just a recap of what my brother Sean does in his spare time.
Yeah.
And why do you what got you into like drawing the comics? I mean, I know, but these guys listening don't know.
Okay, true. So if you've ever seen my blog before, the main character is a very simple looking character. It probably deceives because I think I'm an okay like illustrator. I'm not like amazing, but I think I'm okay. But knowing from what I know about how often you have to put out content, I didn't want to make this like really convoluted character that I have to draw over and over again. And some people do that on their Instagrams, and they do it like they release stuff like constantly, and I'm like, that's a lot of work. But I do a bunch of other things on the side. So I wanted to have like a simple-ish character that just sort of like could express the ideas that I had in relation to dating and like life. So I made this character, and that was the logo. And I drew a picture of him doing stuff that related to the article that I was writing about. And that's how it started, really, because I wanted to be quite like a really informal looking, quite chill looking website. So if you went to the website, it's very, very simple. And it's very, very simple color scheme as well. It's white, purple, and blue. Sorry, white, purple, and blue. And there's like black for the outlines and stuff. So the comics are very, very simple. And after a while, after writing and thinking like, I have these little tiny jokes about things that have happened. And they don't really, unless you read the whole article, which I think is like a lost art. I don't think my target audience really read things that much, or maybe they do, but I'm not targeting them well enough. Because when I look at my analytics, people are reading the articles. But maybe it would be easier to digest if there were just little bite-sized chunks, right? Which is why I thought, doing the little comic stuff might work for that, because it's just easy. You look at it, it takes like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. You get your joke. It relates to something that I think about dating, and you move on. So that's why I thought, okay, you know what? I like the character. It could be evolved into many different things. Let's use that and let's draw more, because I do enjoy drawing it. And that's kind of how it happened.
All right. Cool.
And this was just like an experiment to see what happens.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Cool. Cool. So the reason I brought you on is basically I haven't had anyone on for a while.
Yeah.
So you were like,
you've had some good people on.
Break the ice.
Break the ice so you get new people on. Because you've had some really good guests actually.
Yeah.
Caroline.
Yeah.
Warren. I forget the rest. But the two I remember that are really good.
I was talking about nutrition.
Yes.
Yeah. I had Rebecca talking about social media.
You've had quite a few good ones, yeah.
Mayfair. I've had quite a lot of people, but because of lockdown and everything, and I took a massive break as well.
Yeah.
I need to get back into the swing of things. And we live in the same house, so
it's easier, I suppose. This guy hustles all the time. He's just doing stuff all the time. I'm just playing video games and like chill. I'm just playing games while he's always working. I'm just like, I leave the room for like 2 hours, 3 hours, do my comic, come back. I'm just like done for the week. Well, not really, but yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I did this episode is because there are a lot of people that are good at writing, and they feel like they should start a blog, or they're passionate about a certain topic and they want to start a blog.
Right.
But they don't know where to start.
Right. Okay.
Or they already have a blog, but they don't know how
what
best
to do with
run
it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about those two kind of people. Again, use the hashtag Unstuck podcast. So the first question I would say is, how do you come up with a good topic? Let's say someone wants to start a blog.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to get into it, but what should I blog about? Because I know too much. Like I'm passionate about different things.
Right.
How should they figure out what to blog about?
So, I mean, I'm not the font of all knowledge in relation to this, but I can sort of put my shoe in based on what I've realized from doing my blog. Yeah. So one thing I thought was when I started off was I knew what I wanted to write about, right? It was quite specific. It's to do with dating, right? And in my head, I thought, yeah, great. I have crap load of stories and ideas and stuff to write about. And like, it's fun. It's a fun thing to write about. But what I found was that actually dating per se may not, the type of dating articles I do, I find may not actually appeal to a wider enough audience, right? So what I think I found after starting this blog was that actually I think people that are searching, that land on my page, are more looking for like tips and like help to do with dating, more so than trying to do like a Sex and the City Carrie type thing. Right. You know, because Carrie basically does what I do, only that I don't name people. But I think that there's somebody that obviously do like what I write about, and I think they're like hardcore fans who are probably quite sad I haven't written anything for a little while. But for new people, I think most people that come in, they land on my site, they land for tips. So I think a good thing to do before you start is pick something that you're passionate about, something that you don't feel you're gonna be bored writing about in like 2 or 3 years, and that you would, and also something that you can also relate to real time situations and events happening in real life. So, for example, if you're writing anything to do with like health, right now you'd have fuckloads of swearing. We've had like loads of relevant things to write about because there's so much to do with like everybody's stuck indoors. There's a virus going around infecting anyone. If you're into health, even if it was like, you know, working out, mental health, nutrition, it's generally quite a trendy thing anyway, but you'd have so much more new things to write about now because of stuff that's happening now. In relation to the dating, it's more to do with me, more so than, and also some general concepts about dating, but it's not a super trendy thing. I think a lot of people do write about it. You do it when I go online and check, I see other people writing about it. I think they write, I think they write about their actual stories, and I think it's easier for people to digest what they write about because it's like they literally, I went on a date with this guy and this thing happened. And I don't really write that way. My thing is like, what is spark, or is spark nonsense, or should you kiss on the first date? Or, you know, I have a few articles that are actually about story driven stuff, which are probably the more interesting ones. So I think that if you're going to write a blog, make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure it's something that just being alive gives you more relevant ideas that you can write about. Because what that happens is people will search for things like this, and they want to find out these things to better themselves, right? So, like for example, I'm how to keep healthy during isolation. If you're writing anything about health, you're more likely to show up in that situation, right? And they'd also search for you in outside of the situation. My thing, I wrote something dating during the pandemic, and it's a joke article really, because you can, but not really. It's a bit weird dating in a pandemic, right? Which arguably you can write about, but it's harder to write in my style. So that's another thing. Also, picking where you write is also very important. So you have two options. Either find a website that you can put your articles on that will market them for you. I think last time I talked about this, I mentioned Medium, because Medium is the only one I'm really aware of. And the good thing and bad thing about Medium is that you just write. You don't do anything else. You just write. You can just be on the way to work or on the phone or in bed, and you just take the app up and you just type all you want, right? And it puts it on Medium. You don't need to build the website. You don't need to push the article out. You don't need to market the article on Google. You don't need to do anything but write. The pros of that is that people will read your stuff. Your stuff will be automatically sorted out on search engine optimization and everything else like that. The bad thing is that Medium gets your content. You know, Medium is the one getting the hits, right? And you may build a following, but your following will be on Medium. You know, the pro about building it externally from that is that you have full control of everyone that lands on your site. So if you build it on a site like Wix or MySpace, what's it called again? Squarespace. Sorry. You have full control of everyone that accesses your site, right? You can push anything that you want to them. Medium is obviously quite limited in what they do. The only problem with that is that you have to make sure your analytics is set up. You need to make sure that you are writing the right. What am I saying? Yeah, because of the way you write, and you're going to be showing stuff directly on Google, you have to make sure you write for Google. right? For search engine optimization. Whereas on Medium, you just write, and Medium just sort of decides what's good and what's not within Medium, as well as on Google. So that's another thing. And the third thing I would say is figure out your style. Like, are you a long writer? Are you a short writer? Are you formal? Are you informal? Are you funny? Are you, I think like it's probably good is to write an article, give it to someone to read, a lot of people to read, and see what the feedback is, and figure out like how you write. Because it took me a while to figure out how I write. And I realized that my writing really is just sort of like, I write like how I talk. So people tell me that when they read my articles, they hear my voice in their voice. So I think that's the thing important about that. So
okay, cool. Cool. So now that you've covered like, find something that you're passionate about, or something that you can tell a story about. How do you come up with like what's the best direction to take when you want to build the blog? Right. Yeah.
Okay. So not everyone is as tech savvy as me.
Someone that's not tech savvy.
Yeah. Brush shoulders. If I'm not that tech savvy, but anyway. So I think that it's actually very easy to set up a blog. Like, I think there are different levels of it. So like the easiest level, obviously just going to Wix or going to like Squarespace or going to any of those many website builders and just
I have my.
You have your. I know we both have our things about that, but if you're
recently, but
I think it depends on what you want, right? So if you're someone who does not know anything about building a website, that's fine. Go there, pay them your monthly or whatever subscription that you have to pay. Pick a template and start writing.
Yeah,
and that is it, right? A lot of people, these things, they'll set up Google Analytics for you. They'll set up a .com for you. It's very straightforward, and anyone can build a website, right? Up from that, obviously, is going to a internet service provider, and like GoDaddy or One-on-One or whoever else is out there, and clicking a button that basically builds a WordPress site for you.
Yeah.
Right. So WordPress, I know there are probably others now. WordPress, I've been using WordPress for years, and it's still being updated. And it's basically built for blogging. I'm sure there are more. I'm sure there are different or better ones out there, but I'm not recommending only WordPress. I'm just saying that these service providers will have a one button install thing for a content management system like WordPress. If you do use WordPress, WordPress is specifically built for blogs. You can do anything with it, but it's mainly built for blogs. I'm sure there are others that are built for others as well. And doing that will give you a lot more control over what your site does, rather than just going to like Squarespace or Wix. But it is more technical. You can still go on it and be like, I want this theme, and then just start writing away. You can still do that. It just allows you to do more. And there are more bells and whistles with it that can be confusing if you don't really know your way around. You can break the whole thing if you really don't know what you're doing. But again, one of those things that you can do that is slightly more advanced than just picking a theme on Squarespace. Up from that is just building it yourself, really. Like using whatever content management system is out there, or literally just from scratch. Like there are loads of ways to build it, but these are people that know what they're doing, right? This is for, you pay someone to do it for you. Yeah. But if you can pay someone to do it for you and money is no object, then you can get exactly what you want, like exactly what you want. If you want, but at this point, if you're doing this, you probably already know you're going to need a logo. You know you're going to need, you know what you're doing if you're going this far. Yeah. Some people might not, but I think that if you can afford to go to someone or can build it yourself, you kind of have an idea of what you want it to look like, hopefully. Whereas for the other ones, you don't necessarily need to have a logo, or you might do, but you don't really need to, right? You just put the name of your blog there and you just sort of get rolling. Mm-hmm. I mean, eventually you probably will get a logo, but you don't need it. And these are all those other options that I mentioned just before will also let you like upload a logo anyway, but they may not let you say, I want like a pop-up that, no, actually they probably will let you do that. But let's say you want a pop-up that basically shows like the newest articles you've done. They might let you do it. You can find a plugin that let you do it. But if you're building from yourself, you can do whatever you want. You can basically like get it to show that, and then underneath that, a subscribe button. You can do anything you want with that, but much more technical. What was the question?
Ways that you can build it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I think like from my experience, someone that it depends on what level you're at, doesn't it? Like
It does, yes.
If you're the sort of person that you have a 9 to 5, but you want to start this thing as like not as a side hustle, but a thing to do, just something to do on the side.
Yeah.
Which could potentially grow. I will. First thing I would say is like, what's your budget?
Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's if your budget isn't that high, you might as well just go for Squarespace. I don't think I'll ever suggest Wix to anyone. But Squarespace is pretty good.
You've softened on Squarespace now.
Yeah, but I've never built a Squarespace site.
You don't need to.
I don't need to because I can.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like I've seen people that use Squarespace for their websites and it's very good.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Template websites have come a long way.
Yeah. True.
So for all I know, Wix might be great, but like I'm not
fine.
really interested in Wix.
Right.
But for most people that I speak to, they say they want to start, they want a website. They never have the budget for it.
Yeah, this
they
is
never
true.
have the budget to actually have an expensive blog.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, go on Squarespace.
Yeah.
Just go on Squarespace, pick a template that looks good and looks like that you can do that you like, and then either hire someone to do it for you or do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because like if it's just something that you're just starting out, I wouldn't want people to waste their money. So I mean, because especially when they're just trying to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
So if it comes to the point where it's like the blog has grown a lot,
and
you're like, okay, I have a lot of followers and I'm actually making money from this. You can actually be like, okay,
let's spend some.
Let me spend money making this blog something entirely like improving the blog.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna be like, just go on Squarespace.
Yeah. I agree. If you're just sort of like putting your toe in the water, you might as well just go for the cheapest option to see if you like what you're doing, because you may not.
Yeah.
Because it is quite a commitment, like anything.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
Like anything that you want to put out to the world, and you need to be quite on top of it, which I'm not always, but to make it work, you need to be on top of it.
Yeah. And there's also, if you're looking for something with more bells and whistles, Webflow is a good.
Right, Webflow is more technical, right? It's probably above Squarespace, but under. Is it actually no? Is it on par with WordPress in technical?
Yeah.
Okay, then probably yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever building another website with WordPress again.
Yeah, because what you prefer Webflow?
Webflow is just like quick, like.
Yeah, so there you go. Use that. I don't know about these anymore. I just build them myself.
That's the thing, because me, I hate building websites,
right.
So I'd rather just get something that makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm advertising this thing. I'm not getting paid to say this. I wish
but it's just a good product.
But it's a good product. But it's built for designers who hate coding. So people like me. So if you find someone that's building your website and they can build a Webflow, I would suggest it.
Right.
But because it's also more secure than WordPress.
Right.
WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress
issues.
Although you say that, but I think I've never been hacked on my WordPress website.
Oh.
You know why? Because I update it constantly. The problem, basically, one problem with the WordPress thing, right, is that if you have an idea of what you're doing, like you do, right, you're like, I don't want to code anything, so I just find plugins, right? The problem with plugins is that plugins aren't built by the people that make WordPress. They're built by a third party who they want a fun functionality. They build the functionality and they put it out to the public. They may not be a third party that updates that plugin. Maybe they make it once and put it online and that's it. Yeah. And what this means is that people that are hackers go through the plugins. So the more plugins you have, the more likely you're going to get hacked.
Yeah.
I don't have that many. I have like 4 running on mine, and I update them all the time. Yeah. So so I'm saying, so the more plugins you have, the more. So like that's why I don't want to like throw WordPress under the bus too much about this, because they do update their system constantly, and there are big companies that use WordPress. I don't necessarily use them anymore. They probably use React now, but some companies were running off WordPress like years ago. I know what they're doing now. If you keep it updated and you don't go crazy on the plugins, then you're fine. If you do go crazy on the plugins, make sure you update them and make sure they're plugins that are regularly updated. Because if you have a plugin that was updated like 6 years ago, don't install it, because chances are it's going to get hacked and your site's going to get hacked. Also, back up WordPress.
Back up everything.
Yeah.
Pay the extra.
Well, back up anything, regardless of what it is. But that's the reason why WordPress sometimes feels like it's really hacky, because I've had back in the day when I had clients and their WordPress would get hacked and you ask them when they updated it last. And so they haven't looked at the CMS since from the day that it was.
Yeah.
So it's like,
going back to like blogging specifically.
Yeah.
I should have covered this at the beginning of the episode actually. Like, why should people blog?
Ooh. So I used
some
to.
people think blogging has died down, but I disagree. But like,
Yeah, it's difficult because I don't think it is, right? Because I find myself reading blogs when I need information. So I don't go around and I read, but I don't read blogs per se. Like if I want to find out how to do this, I search for it, and most times I'll land on a blog. Usually also do with coding. I want to figure out something that works, and then someone will write a blog article about it. And you end up reading the blog article. It just explains how it works, but it's a blog article. It's not like just a web page. It's actually it's a blog, and it's tricky because I think that there are two kinds of people, right? There are people that just read stuff on the internet, right? Which I think Medium has those kind of people. They just read. I see random things up on the internet, like, oh, some random person who I have no idea if they have any background in politics. I don't know. Just says something like, why people love Trump, for example. I have my own opinions why people love Trump, right? And I think my opinions are relatively correct. So I don't feel like a need to go read somebody else's opinion. I'll happily watch it on YouTube in the background, but I won't go and read up on it because it's something I feel like I know this already. I would only go and read something from a blog if I'm looking for information that I don't clearly know. Yeah. Like nutrition stuff. You know, I don't know that much about nutrition, so I'll go to an article and I read the article. And most articles these days are blog posts. They're not just like a random page. They're usually always like in a blog sort of fashion. So what was the question again?
Why should people blog?
Yeah. So I think that if you feel like you have information that people need, is a good reason to start a blog. If you're you can write a blog about your opinion and then make it off because you might find people that are validated by the fact that you have their opinion.
Yeah.
But from my experience, based on what I'm writing about, I feel like people that visit my website are visiting my website because they want information that they don't know. And maybe it's a really hard question to answer actually, because maybe there are some people who just like are blog searchers, you know, who just like, cause I know I used to get emails from people who were just looking for similar blogs that were like their blog to like get me to repost their content. So I think if you feel like you enjoy writing and you feel like you have an opinion that other people would benefit from, because that's why I started also. Like I thought my stuff was funny, which kind of is, kind of isn't, but I felt like people would benefit from my blog because they'd feel like normal in the way they're feeling about dating, because dating's kind of hard, right? And you go into dating and it kicks you around sometimes. So it's good to, and I learned a lot from dating. And I feel like if people read my blog, they would also get like a cheat codes into dating and get hit with things. And they're like, why is this happening? And the real blog goes like, oh, somebody else also has this feeling. I feel validated. So I think if you're going to write a blog, that should be one of the things that you can try and accomplish, like make people feel bad about something that you feel like is an opinion that isn't like common, that you don't see people saying stuff that much on Instagram. You don't see people saying stuff on the internet that much, that you want to share and make someone else feel good about reading their content that you just put up. Yeah, that's my answer. Boom.
Well put. I actually think like in terms of blogging as well, is if you're going to solve a problem.
Yeah, so it's like similar thing.
Yeah. So like, for example, I learned so much about acid reflux and eating alkaline that I could start a blog on acid reflux. Like I could do that if I wanted to, but I'm not that.
It's not something you're passionate about.
I'm not disciplined up with writing.
Oh yeah, but you're not passionate about that, are you?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Neither. I just don't like to be uncomfortable. So
yeah, so that, but
well, it might help someone.
Yeah. But I think the passion and the problem solving is
that's a kind of equation that we in any kind of content that we do.
Yeah,
it's we catch the passion plus the
problem solving. Yeah,
problem solving, and then people will appreciate what you're doing, and they're most likely gonna share it or whatever. Yeah, you know. So I think blogging is it's very good for visibility as well, isn't it? Yeah. So it could be quite hard.
Yeah, it's tricky because I guess one thing I saw somewhere once, it was like, okay, you have a website, right, or a blog, or a website and a blog, and you have an Instagram, right, and you kind of use your Instagram to get people to go to your website.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you use your website, people go to your Instagram, it's not easier to get people to go to your blog, and use your blog to get people to go to your, yeah, it's just like a different route to get people to go to the content that you want, but based on the situation. So if you want your Instagram to grow, then you push those things to take people to your Instagram. If you want that to grow, Instagram is a good way to get people to go in that direction as well, because the people do that. Yeah, pretty much. So it is good for like, it can be good for Google Analytics, because you're not just putting out pictures on Instagram, whatever. You're making content that Google reads and then says, all right, this is relevant for these people, and it puts you up there. They visit that website, and then they're exposed to other stuff that you're doing because of that. And blogging is good for that, because unlike a website, which is just usually static, like that is like, for example, if you're selling like a product, you make a website people can buy the product from. You have your content about that product. That generally stays the same. It doesn't have a big content turnover rate. But then you had a blog writing about nutrition stuff, about, or things to do with that product. That is constantly changing. Maybe like every week or every couple of weeks, it's constantly updating. Google is constantly looking at it, and it's getting put into different rankings on the internet. People hit your blog to then go to your website. So it's a good way, like you said, for exposure. It's actually very, very good for that.
And also, like, I think it works for as long form content.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's this thing that that's.
This is search engine stuff again, right? Or
not necessarily. As in, it helps to come up with. It helps you when coming up with content. I mean by something that's like absorbed over a long period of time.
Right.
So it could be a blog, a really long, like an essay, or a podcast is long form.
Right. Okay.
Content, and a YouTube video can be long form content. But then an Instagram post is short form.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a story or a tweet is short form.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take like a blog post. This is quite a good hack anyway. You can take a blog. It's like what you do with your comics.
Actually,
no, your comics are the comics and the blogs are separate.
Yeah, I used to do what you were just about to say though.
So like long form content, you have like, let's say you have a blog post, and then you can take the highlights of the blog post and create Instagram content for that.
Yep.
Or then you can create a Twitter thread from that blog post.
Yep.
You know, or if people want to see the big details, they can actually go back to the blog.
Yeah.
So that's another advantage of having a blog, because like it makes life easier for the other platforms.
Yeah, it's true.
That you have. But it's not like you should just take copy and paste stuff.
Yeah.
You have to change the language when you're posting it to other platforms.
Yeah.
And not just like take a screenshot.
Yeah.
Say, or just say, saying something like, check out my new blog. Here's the title. Click the link. And it's like, you're not giving anyone. They're not gonna click. You have to give them something. That's why, for example, it's not a blog, but with my podcast, I put the audio clip in there so that people can know what it's about, and like, this is interesting. Let me click on on the link. But like with a blog post, you can't just especially people are using Instagram a lot. If you have an Instagram, don't just put the picture of your blog on your Instagram and expect people to click. They're not gonna click. There's no incentive. So like. Well, unless the title is really,
you can't even link anyway. So
you can't put a link on Instagram
unless you have like 100,000 followers.
Is that what it is?
You know the little swipe up thing.
Oh yeah. You can't swipe up onto.
Unless you have 100,000 followers or something. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So I think blogging is something that a lot of organizations should do.
I think that a lot of them do it.
Yeah.
My old company did.
In terms of coming up with like content, do you have a way that you come up with content?
So I used to use Google. Oh, what's it called?
Trends?
Yes. Yeah. Was that the one that emails you random stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell it. Give it categories.
Google Trends or Google Alerts?
I have to find it. It's one of them. But Google it real quick. Because what it does is you give it categories, and what it does is it will spam email you any news articles to do with that category. It's a good way to basically get relevant news that's going on. I think it's Google Alerts.
Google Alerts, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's a good way to basically be up to date with stuff that's happening in the real world that you can possibly write about. They aren't, from my experience, they weren't always relevant. Like usually it's about this random, because I was doing dating, it was giving me celebrity breakups and stuff, which doesn't necessarily work for me. But sometimes it did give me stuff like say, oh, Tinder has released this new system on their system. So it gives me a point to try it out and then write what I thought about it. So that's one really good way of making content, because you know that it's stuff people will actually be looking for.
Yeah.
Another way of writing content is literally just living it. So it'd be weird for you to write about something that you've never done. Like, I'm going to start writing about climbing. I don't like climbing. I've done it. I don't like it. So why would I write about it? Right. You know, like it's easy. I think what happens, like the curve is it's very high at the start, and then it starts to flitter down towards like the end, because you have all this, it's a fresh blog. You have this passion about something you're interested in. You can pull out like 30 articles right off the bat really easily. Right. More so if you break down those articles as well. When you put out your big hitters, you then struggle to release stuff of similar quality towards the end, because it's your experience, which is why you then need like outward experiences. So maybe one thing good as well is to get like, which I really should do and I haven't done, is to go to other people and get their experiences or their ideas and interview them and write about that. Doing research, doing experiments, just to try and create content, depending on what your thing is. I know from mine, I did experiments. I also asked people about stuff, but I haven't written about it. And like, when I ran out of my own like internal ideas, you just go out and you look. You have to go out and look for content a lot of the time, and it works a lot better for you if it's real life events and stuff.
People could also send in content.
People can also send in content if you can push it through that way. Yeah. How exactly you process those based on your blog is up to you. I think it varies a lot, but you can always do like, I guess it would be like an interview piece or something. I don't know.
Well, how much time we got? Okay, we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
What if someone wanted to analyze the blog?
Right. So
why should you analyze a blog, and what are the benefits, and then how can they do that?
So I use 2 or 3, maybe like 4 tools actually when it comes to my blog. Google Analytics, obviously. Google Keywords, Hotjar, and I think one more. And so I'll tell you what those things do. Google Analytics basically just, records the statistics on your website. Who's coming, who's going, where they came from, how long they stayed, what page they landed on. Like almost pretty much anything you can find on Google Analytics, or at least build something on your website to work with Google Analytics. Like if you had a button somewhere and you wanted to know how many people were clicking that button, you could do that. Like specifically that button to get to a certain page, for example, you could do that. You need to be a bit more technical to do it, but you can do it. So that's one thing, which is a must-have on any product that is out to the public, I feel.
Yeah.
You need to be able to record statistics for it. Otherwise, how do you know how to grow? That's one. Hotjar is also another one that does analytics, but what it does is it actually literally shows you where people click and how far they scroll down your website. And it records, which is, that's the other one. Okay, that's the other one. Wait, is Hotjar? No, Hotjar does that. Sorry. Yeah. Hotjar also records what people are doing on your website, which is like gold. It is gold, because you can literally load up a page and you can see how far they're scrolling. If they try and click on something that isn't a link, that looks like a link, if they have difficulties getting to certain pages, you can see just how they're using the page. And Hotjar is free, but you have a limited amount of recordings that you can have. So if you pay the premium, you can do more with it, but you can get it for free. And, you can see what people are doing on your website like today, if you want to do that.
Get it on my website.
You probably should. Yeah, Hotjar is really good. Hotjar is really good. I can sit down and watch the videos all day and just like go, what are you doing? Why aren't you clicking on the button? It's very frustrating. Another one, last one that says Google keywords. This is just to see what people search for on Google to get to your site. You can see this on Google Analytics, but this focuses more on those keywords. This is a lot more technical, and you will have to like Google and read some blogs about how to even use this properly, because it gives you a lot of information and you may not know how to utilize that information, even though I'm still kind of learning. But essentially what it does is like if you use certain titles or meta tags on your blog, people type stuff on Google, and Google connects those with your articles, and then they come to your site. So it's a good way to really check and see what keywords are working well. And it also helps you if you want to do like Google ads or something, you can use those keywords. Why you should do that is because it really gives you a leg up on what you should be doing next after you've had your blog up for like 3 months or whatever. And you're like, right, I'm not getting, say, enough people visiting X page, or people aren't spending as much time on the certain pages, or people are bouncing off really quickly, or you have a new thing you want to put up. Maybe you have a subscription package you want to put up on the website and you don't know where to put it. Using these analytical systems will help you do that, especially Hotjar, because every time I look at Hotjar, I always think to myself, oh, maybe I should try this because people are behaving a certain way. So using my website for an example, I put up this rating system for each article because I'm having this difficulty where I want to know if people like what they're reading, if they find it relevant. This is part of my experimentation to find out whether my blog posts, if people come into my blog posts because they want to read funny stuff or if they want to get help. So Hotjar shows people to read my article. They go all the way to the end, and they sometimes, a lot of them, they see the questionnaire that just says, was this article you're looking for? And it has 4 buttons in ratings of like yes or no. And all of them skip it, apart from a couple, but a lot of them skip it. But they always click the consent for cookies button. Yeah. And you can see Hotjar says bright red, like everybody clicking this button. And I'm like, okay, what's the difference in these two situations, right? The consent button is something that pops up at the bottom of your screen once for every new person. It's there and it takes up a large chunk of your screen. People click on it to get rid of it. So I'm thinking, right, if that was replaced by the, is this article useful? Maybe if it pops up like halfway through the page, maybe they would interact with it better than they are now. And Hotjar, without looking at Hotjar and seeing that interaction, I wouldn't think to do that. You see, so it's very difficult to make decisions without knowledge. You're just guesswork. And these tools really help you with this guesswork. Because you're still kind of guessing, but you're at least guessing with information. And that's why they're very, very useful. And the last thing I would say is that if you don't do this, you might struggle to really know how to improve your website. And you need to consistently improve your blog. Like, this is just like a website, which me and you always say to people all the time. It's not like it's not a business card. You don't just make it and leave it. You need to consistently look at it and analyze it and add to it and tweak it in order to like reach whatever conversion goals that you have. Exact same thing with a blog. If people aren't forwarding, because one thing that is very difficult, I find, is getting people to like and share. Yeah. And once you crack that and you figure out how, these tools will help you make that code better, So, yeah.
Also, that's one thing that I think people should also keep in mind is think beyond the website. Think beyond the blog, because you have a blog post but if people don't know you exist, they're not going to come and read it. Yeah. Which is why a lot of people, they have a email subscription. Right. I would say everyone should have a mailing list anyway as a hook about about their website. And the thing about when you release a new blog, you can actually send an email saying, "Oh, here's the article written. Yeah. Here's the synopsis," and then you can read the whole thing, because people check their emails as well. It's a myth that email's dead. It's not dead.
Who said emails are dead?
People that have no wisdom.
Okay.
But yeah, email is really important. You can link it to your blog posts and everything. I think the last question I would say is, what is a well-designed blog?
Right. Okay. So based on what I've experimented with, a well-designed blog, like a well-designed website, is something that gives viewers what they want quickly. So on your landing page, right, what would you think is the most important thing that should be on the landing page?
Click here.
Generally, yes. But it's like, what are you clicking, right? Am I going to, when I landing page in my head, like you probably see that on a bunch of like websites now where they have like their newest article is like the highest thing. that's the reason for that is because as soon as a person arrives, they see it, they click on it.
Yeah.
It's very important. Like, so for anything that you want to push, it needs to be the first thing that they see. Not like this big picture of your cooking or whatever it is, the article, right? Don't get people to scroll down to find your article. It has to be right there.
It's the goal of the website.
The goal of the website is to push those up.
Yeah, it's about blogging. If it was a different website that your blog is a secondary thing,
then fine.
Further down. But if your website is primarily your blog, you should be posting.
Yeah, if they're landing on your blog, they should be getting your blog content.
Yeah, that's it.
As soon as possible. One thing I also found that's very, very good, which most templates will give you anyway, at the end of each article, give them a link to another article.
Yeah.
I found that worked quite well for me, from my one anyway. People generally always click another article when they get to the bottom.
Yeah.
Another good thing about it, which I'm still kind of experimenting with, is blog length. I'm not 100% sure what's best on that one. I think it depends on it really does depend on the audience, and how much and how type of writing you are. Like, there's only so much information that I don't know if it's good to. It might be good to write short ones that you break down into many different articles rather than writing one big one. But I think it really depends on your audience. You're just gonna have to test that because there's no right or wrong answer to that one. It's just like a testing thing. And what else would I say? Make sure your blog reads easy on mobile first and foremost. Mobile first. Make sure and a lot of time blogs, you can get away with just doing like text on blogs and be fine. Like, you don't actually have to make it really, really fancy or anything. Just give them the article, give them the links to another article at the bottom, put links to other articles that you've written, other people have written within your article. And one thing that I would also say, this is more about the content than it is about the website. Because really about the website, you just need to make sure you're giving them the articles. Yeah. You don't need to make it look fancy so much. So just giving them the articles. I found that it's really, really good to title your articles like they're questions.
Provocative.
Yeah, I found them there's some clickbaity stuff you can do as well. But I hate those. Yeah. I don't know why I hate them, because they feel like I'm lying. Like, the best thing you ever read ever. Or like, what people aren't telling you. Like, they work, but I hate them. But they work, but I hate them. Questions in your articles, I found that mine, it works really well. Like someone might ask why, I use my dating thing, for example, like why I don't get dates. Right. You can also do a how to get dates. But it has to be either a how to or a why. I think those work better. Like, I used to do really fun like intros, like fun little titles, like building blocks of dating. It's fun to write, but unfortunately, people don't go on Google and type building blocks of dating. Really, they type how do I get a date. So the two caveats to this is that this isn't a super this isn't a secret. So you may end up having to compete with other people that have the same title. But if you try and do something called long tail tags, so if you write a longer type of title. Not too long, but something that catches more like so instead of how to get a date, how to get a fun date, how to be a fun date, why your date isn't fun, rather than just like, how to get a date, because it's too simple. You're going to compete with those people. Make it more specific, but not make it targeted, but not like pinpoint. You don't want it to go into too long because people won't type of thing you're writing, right? It has to be something that's a bit less generic than how to get a date. So, or how to get a date if you're under 5 foot.
That's very specific, isn't it?
It's very specific, and people are suffering.
Yeah. And another hack is to go to Answer the Public.
I use that. Yeah, it's also a very good one.
Answer the Public is help you come up with like those good titles and see what people are actually
asking for.
It has like how-tos and whys and stuff.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of information. Some of them I don't really understand, but it does give you like a good list of things that people are asking for on the search engines that you can then pick one of those titles, maybe tweak it slightly and make an article for it. And people more than likely will land on your page. Like one of my most hit, I think, pages is it's about Hinge.
Okay.
It's a I used Hinge dating app or something, and people just go there to read if Hinge is any good.
Which it is.
It's good, but it's not what I want people to go to. But I guess,
I think that should be it. Use the hashtag Unstuck podcast if you have any questions regarding any of this. And also, I have a new segment. We're not going to do it in this episode, but in following episodes. If you
Homework.
guys send in,
It's homework.
No,
Oh.
don't worry. It's called Ask Demi, where you can send me a voice note. I play it on the podcast, and then I answer the question.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the link in the description of this episode. And then you can just click there and record from your phone, and they'll send me an email.
That's cool.
Voice, yeah. And then if you want to feature on the podcast, then do it. But if you look at my socials and everything, you can find me promoting it there. How can people find you?
You can find me mostly on Instagram these days. I'm going to try and tweet more. That's what I've decided to do this week is tweet more.
Fleet.
It's going to be just racist shit. Anyway, I'm going to try and tweet more, but you can find me on Diary of Wannabe on Instagram. So diary_of_a_wannabe. Mostly on Instagram. My website is diaryofwannabe.com, which has my socials, it has my blogs, it has some Instagram photos and stuff. Yeah, pretty much.
Brilliant. And you can find me on _Demi Harper. Use the hashtag Unstuck podcast as usual. And what would you like me to talk about next week? Let me know. Send me a voice note. And thanks for listening, guys. Catch up later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.